The Major is finally in its final form. Chaos be thy name. And with 8 teams left, only one can claim the title as Major winner. These are the 8 teams. Let's do this. How? How in the freak is this reality? You didn't just pummel everyone in the opening round, you did it in historic fashion. This team had a 150 rating. That is not a typo. 1.50. 4 of the players had a fudging 154 rating or higher. Senzu taking the top rating with a 1.63 in the 4 maps they played. But in the last round, they've cooled off just a bit. Mouzinho and Techno dropped to a 1.02 and a 1.03 rating, but with 910 having a 1.10 rating? Mongolz had a field day in the second stage. And then there's Senzu. Holy shiz, is he going insane. He might be God himself in the server, I don't care. With a freaking 1.27 rating with an impact of a 1.42 and an ADR of a 90.4, he's doing better than Shiro, Spinks, and nearly on par with Monacy. Freaking Monacy. In fact, this team has done something so crazy that it's borderline psychotic. They've dropped 1 map, all major. 1 effing map.
You what? Holy shit.
Not match, map. They are 6-0 and have only lost their only map to Heroic. They have the #1 seed entering the final 8. And this Asia team now has a legitimate chance at winning this major. You know how we joked, oh, how funny would it be if Mongolz won on home soil? Yeah, that joke is looking to be more reality than we would ever have thought. But to take the crown, they would have to face the former #1 team in Mouz. And that game should be an absolute shootout. But regardless what happens, Mongolz have shown that they are the best Asia team ever to have existed. They have beat Tyloo's record in London 2018 as the farthest an Asia team has ever gone. And they still might not be done. So Mongolz, I'm insanely proud of you. You earned that #1 seed. Now go and create the greatest storyline in the history of the Major. Win this thing, or die trying. I'm not even surprised I made it here. Going 3-0 was a bit of a surprise for me. Then again, it was a cakewalk for Vitality. Just look at that PaperSoft schedule. You beat Gamer Legion, Furia in overtime, and demolished MIBR. Am I supposed to be impressed? Congrats, you took down a borderline tier 1 team in Furia, but you needed overtime to do it, and 2 tier 2 teams. Of course you're going to fudging destroy them. If you didn't, Mezzi would have been launched into the sun and Apex would already be on Falcons right about now. Oh no guys, they have the highest team rating in the second stage. I wonder effing why. Still, I gotta give them kudos how well they have been doing considering how crazy this lineup is. You just have the best IGL CS might have ever have known in Apex. You finally have Mezzi playing up to his potential. Flamesy and Spinks are going completely mental, and Zaiwu is playing his best simple impression by having a 1.49 freaking rating. In fact, all 5 players in the second round were in the top 15 ratings. Even Apex. PaperSoft schedule. Sorry, but even with all these crazy numbers, Vitality has been here before. Looking as dominant as ever, then bam! You drive your heads into a brick wall and get eliminated in the most painful way imaginable. Do you recall losing to Stewie 2K from IEM Dallas this year? Oh yeah, I'm bringing that up because that is peak freaking Vitality. But could it be different this time? Could you regain your Paris 2023 form and win this entire thing? Surprisingly, I have some doubts on it. So prove me wrong, Vitality. Don't choke this one away. Because if you do, you better believe Zaiwu's chances at #1 will be dead in the water. There's still a chance. Snacks, Nico, Monacy, Hunter, and Mobs have made it to the #3 seed where they'll be facing Heroic. And man, this team's still looking great. You have 2 players inside the top 5 ratings from this second stage in Nico and Monacy. A 135 and a 133 rating just scream the best duo in CS. Even Hunter is doing well with a 1.11 rating. And Snacks? What's gotten into him? He's got a 1.05 rating during the second stage. That's the same as Mouz. Not as much impact, but when you break the all-time clutching record, I'm not complaining. And with all the rumors of Monacy and Nico possibly moving, it doesn't even seem to faze them. They've been locked down thus far, taking out Big Clan, 3D Max, and Faze Clan. And in those 4 games, they only allowed 20 rounds scored against them. Sure, they took a loss to Mongolz, but they've been playing on a demolishing warpath we haven't seen in a very long time. And who knows what happens if G2 actually win this major. This is a special group that can win almost any tournament they compete in. There's not many teams we could say about that. Na'Vi? Sure. Spirit? Heck yeah. Vitality? I can see it. But G2? Man! Having the best trio in the world in Monacy, Nico, and Mouz is just too crazy. And if Nico hoists his very first major trophy, maybe the deal with Falcons could be cancelled? Hey, a guy can hope this team doesn't lose one, or maybe both of their hyperstars. Go get him, G2. Spirit kicked off their major by immediately giving the fans a heart attack a la Furia style, by losing to Furia. Didn't see that one coming. So Donk Crew needed to blow off some steam and take out their frustrations on Wildcard. And as if that wasn't enough, they had to torment Na'Vi 13-2 on Mirage. Bro, what?
Oh, come on!
And to solidify their spot in the quarterfinals, Spirit took down a difficult heroic team. It had to go 3 maps, but the job was done. So now, Donk has another chance to claim yet another MVP, win his first major, silence the critics saying that he's not the #1 player, and bring Spirit back to the #1 team in the world. Just one problem. The competition is rough here. Even though Chopper and Magix are doing fair with a 1.01 and a 1.00 rating, they have to face an inconsistent but threatening Team Liquid. With Zontix and Shiro going completely crazy with a 1.13 and a 1.14 rating, it'll be a very interesting game. But really? Can Liquid stop the insanity that is Donk? John Wick would be scared of this fire-breathing dragon. A 1.55 rating with an impact of a 1.69 and an ADR of a 105.9. Repeat, average damage around a 105.9.
What the hell?
What the heck? Donk's had criticism in the second half of this year for being washed. But with these stats in the biggest tournament in Counter-Strike, yeah, no one's saying that anymore. And at just 17 years old, Donk has the rare chance to do something Nico hasn't. Lifting that trophy and claiming MVP is not impossible. Spirit can and has done this in 2024. Claiming 4 MVPs this season already, Donk and crew have the ultimate chance to cement their name in Counter-Strike immortality. But will the Dragons have enough to get to the grand finals and win it all? I think they have a chance, but for now, only time can tell. Do you think Spirit have what it takes? Comment down below, and now let's get back to our 5th team. Liquid made it! This is massive news for the NA scene, as it will confirm North America will have a legend spot in the next major. NACS is back, baby! But it wasn't easy to get here. Despite going 3-1, it felt way too close for comfort. Dropping to Na'Vi in a best of 1, they had a close game against Gamer Legion and Furia. Then facing against MIBR, it had to go all 3 maps. So while NA fans were having heart attack after heart attack, Liquid finally clinched their spot in the top 8. But there's some glaring issues with Liquid. After having an amazing round 1 with a 1.24 rating, JKS has slumped back to a 0.98 rating. The good news is he did way better against MIBR, so maybe the slump is over going into the quarterfinals. But JKS isn't the only one that struggled in the second round. Twists had an unusual decline as well, averaging a 0.97 rating, when in the first round he had a 1.18 rating. It's a little bit concerning. And while I get that Liquid are facing tougher opponents in the second round, this is the worst possible time to go on a slump. Oddly enough, Yakindar and Ultimate did great in the second round. But Naf has been doing the heavy carrying. He had a whopping 1.25 rating. That's tied for 6th best rating with Spinks. In fact, Yakindar, Ultimate, and Naf all 3 placed in the top 20 in the round 2 ratings. So those 3 are heavily carrying Liquid. But is that going to be enough going into their matchup versus Team Spirit? You have to face Donk. And while Liquid have a total major record of 6-1, It's been a painful and slightly inconsistent 6 wins. So Liquid, please don't NA this. If you can take down Spirit, anything's possible. And yes, Ultimate's going to win Rookie of the Year. That should be a given now. How? How the actual Sam Flip are you here? Facing Tier 1 team after Tier 1 team, Heroic earned their spot in the quarterfinals. What do I have to say about it? Beating Big and Faze Clan, they went 2-0 quickly and just needed a single match to cement their spot. Too bad for them, they had to face the literal best teams in CS to do that. In fact, Heroic were just an overtime game away from beating Mongolz and making it 3-0. But Mongolz eventually took the reverse sweep and knocked Heroic out of the spot. So then Heroic had to face Dunk and Team Spirit. Oh boy! Losing in overtime on the first map, Heroic took the second map only to drop the final map to Shiro and crew 1 and 2. So now maybe the stacked deck would lighten up? Nope, you get to face Na'Vi. And yet Heroic took them on and won Mirage 13-3. 13-3? Against the #1 team in the world in Na'Vi? Seriously? Heroic decided the tone of the match every freaking time. Unfortunately, Na'Vi would Uno reverse that feeling and would destroy Nerds and crew on Nuke 13-5. So down to the wire, winner take all map. Here we come. Ancient is where we go. Tied 6-6. Okay, now tied 9-9. And now Heroic have done it. The shock of the Major, taking out JL and crew, Na'Vi will not repeat as the Major champions. Smashing their way into the quarterfinals, Nerds leads this team with a 1.20 rating, tied for Ultimate at 10th. And while Tessis and Shush haven't done the best, that Deekster signing might have paid off big time. Though still a bit inconsistent, Deekster has only had 2 games with a sub .96 rating. Meanwhile, he's had 5 games of a 1.06 rating, and Kixin, their IGL, has been rocking some snacks-like numbers too. A 1.05 rating and an ADR of a near 75 and a DPR of a .69, he's really been helping Heroic keep everyone on their toes. So all in all, Heroic haven't just been solid. They're actual contenders for this championship. But facing off against G2 is going to be a mighty big challenge. Still, if you could beat the #1 team in Na'Vi and nearly top Mongolz in overtime, you have a chance against Modesty and Nico. So Heroic, go out there and give it all you can. Imagine they win the Major without Staben, Yabi, and Cadian. That would be insane. Luck is the name of the game for Faze. When you have a -18 round win ratio, you don't deserve to make the playoffs. Still, you're here. And while a bit mean, I have to ask, does anyone have faith in this team? Your top players are Rops and Frozen with a 1.07 rating, which is pretty good. And while Rain is still a solid 1.04, Brokey's fallen off a freaking cliff. A .90 rating? Where in the world did this even come from? In the second round of play, Brokey had 2 games over a 1.0 rating. 2 games? I get that Kerrigan is an IGL and he's not going to play like Rain, but Brokey literally couldn't have been on a horrible streak at the worst possible time. So when I say that Faze are lucky to have played Furia, I mean it. And even that was a struggle out the gate. Losing the first map to Furia, you had to reverse sweep them in order to get where you are now. So while Frozen, Rops, and Rain are doing their thing, someone needs to remind Brokey that this is for a Major. Because right now, they don't have much time left before they have to face Vitality. And if they lose that, what's going to happen to Faze? Personally speaking, I don't want them to make changes. Rain is still solid. They got Frozen from Mouz for a reason, and Rops is finally looking back at his normal self. And other than that, past 3 tournaments, Brokey's been lighting the scene on fire. Heck, at one point, we were asking if Brokey is a top 5 AWPer. And as for Kerrigan, I hope retirement isn't on the radar. Because really, that's the only change I could realistically see. So don't blow this one, Faze, because I'd hate to see potential changes out of your team for a lack of results. Get it done. From being the #1 team in the world to limping into the playoffs, Mouz looked mighty shaky there for a second. Yeah, you whooped up on Pain Gaming, but right when the Tier 1 teams arrived, you couldn't close it out. overtime loss versus Mongolz, and a close loss 10-13 versus Faze Clan. So after that, you had to destroy the dreams of 3D Max and completely destroy MIBR just to make it here. Still, I'm glad you're here, but I got a question for you. How is Sui better than Jimmy? And Brawlin for that matter? Like, what the heck? This kid could seriously take IGL of the year based on how he can go from, he's just an IGL, to effing John Wick mode. A 1.06 rating with an impact of a 1.09 and a DPR of a 0.64 is crazy for an IGL. And this is for the major. Combine that with Torji's 1.08 and Xerxion's 1.19 rating, and I can look past Brawlin's average 1.04 rating. And I guess, since it's Yimfat's first major, I can give him a pass too. But seriously speaking, Mouz, you need to get back to your #1 world rankings version of yourselves just to keep going in the major. You're facing Mongolz and they've been invincible. Jimmy, Brawlin, and even Torji need to step it up to the next level and keep it there. Otherwise, I don't know if I have hope on them beating the #1 team in Mongolz. Still, with all that said, Mouz have 2 arguable top 20 players in one of the best IGLs in the game. They can do this if they reach those heights. Better figure it out, Mouz. And that's all 8 teams and their chances. Who do you have taking this major? Subscribe for more major coverage and comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace. What a crazy major. Holy freak.